Okay, today's Daf Bez Hashem is Daf Kuf Yud Ches, and we're still in the middle of Kuf Yud Zayin Omid Beis, and the subject that we're discussing is the deal of moiser. Okay, a moiser. So the Gemara says like this: it's Kuf Yud Zayin Omid Beis, about the first 12 lines from the top. Says the Gemara, Hahu the Achve am taksa derabavo. There's a person that showed he showed the tax collectors the silk suit of Rabbi Abba. Okay, so obviously they confiscated it. So he was a moiser. So Yosef, the Gemara says Yosef Rabbi Bo, Rabbi Chanina Bar Papi, Rabbi Yitzchak Napacha. Rabbi Bo, Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yitzchak was sitting. Yosef Rabbi Eloi Gabeu. So there was a bezdin to try to make the moiser pay. Savar lechayuve, they wanted to hold the moiser liable. Now notice that the moiser only pointed where Rab Abba's silk suit is, but he never actually gave it over to the tax collector. But we see Mahadatnam Donas Adin Zikas Achayev Chiyuvis Zakai Times Atar V'Tias Atame Masha also Vishal Mebeisai. If a dayan made a mistake, he has to pay the victim back. Right, whatever he's done is done, but he has to pay the victim back. Now, when a dayan makes a mistake, it's obviously that he's not handing over the money. The money is exchanged between the two litigants, but he is the cause of this mishap. So therefore, same thing over here. So the moiser, he's the cause of the mishap that Rabbi Abba's silk suit was confiscated. So therefore, he has to pay. Amalei Rabbi Loi, so Rabbi Loi said, Hachi Amarabba, that Rav disagreed. The only time a dayan has to pay out of pocket for a mistaken judgment is only if he actually took the money from one of the litigants and gave it over to the other one. So he was physically involved in transferring the money. But if he was just, acting as a judge, or pointing things out, who's correct, and didn't actively transfer the money, he's not obligated to pay. In this case also, the moiser just pointed to where the silk suit is, so he should not be obligated to pay. So Rab Illa was defending the moiser. So they told him, Zil Gabi Rab Shimon ben Elyakim Rab Lazar ben Padas, the Daini Din Gami, they punish a person if he caused somebody else a loss. So there's other Tanoim that if you cause somebody a loss, even though you're not actively doing the loss, you have to pay. Because they told him to go to Rab Lazar and Shimon, and they obligated the moister to pay. Because our Mishnah says like this: if a guy steals a karka, a piece of land, and showed it to the tax collector, if they confiscated it because of the gazlan, then the gazlan has to pay. And we said before that the achve achvuye, it's not that the gazlan actually stole a piece of land. He saw that the government was looking for a piece of land to confiscate, and he said, take this one. So, and just by saying that, he's obligated to pay. So as the Gemara, a new story. Hahu Gavra. There was this man that have a mifkid kas the kasbe that he was holding on. Somebody deposited for safekeeping a silver goblet. Sliki ganovi eloi shakli abelei. So Ganav broke in the middle of the night. So he was watching somebody else's silver goblet, and he says, take this. And the Ganovim took it. So Azal Kamid Rabba Patrai, according to, he came to Rabba, and Rabba said the shomer doesn't have to pay. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye said, he was saving his own possessions by giving up the money belonging to somebody else. He gave up the silver goblet that he was watching in order for the Ganovim to go out and not bother and not steal anything that belongs to him. So he's saving himself with the money of your friend, and therefore the shomer should have to pay. Alama Ravashi says Chazina. We have to examine this case a little bit deeper. We look at the shomer, the guy who is watching the silver goblet. If he's a rich guy, so the Ganovim broke into his house because Adaite did who asi. They came for his possessions because they know he's a rich guy. So if he gives over the silver goblet, so he's protecting his possessions by giving over, causing the silver goblet belonging to somebody else to be taken away. But if he's not a rich guy, so why did the Ganovim break into this house? Because they knew there's a silver goblet there. Adaite the kasbaser, they came because there was a silver goblet here. So therefore, the shomer is not obligated to pay because they came for that item that he was watching. Another story. Hahu Gavra, Dava Mifkig Arnika de Pidin Shvuyim. A guy who's, let's say, a tzedakah collector, and he was watching a purse full of money that was designated for Pidin Shvuyim, to release people from prison. Salika Ganave love, middle of the night, Ganovim came, Shakli Yavan Ale. So the Ganovim came, and in order to placate the Ganovim, he gave them the purse that was full of money that was designated for Pidin Shvuyim. Rava Patari. They came to Rava, and Rava said, the guy doesn't have to pay. The tzedakah collector doesn't have to pay. Amalei Abaya. So Abaya said, isn't he saving himself with money belonging to his friend? I mean, this was designated Pidyon Shvuyim money that's supposed to redeem other people and not not use it to placate a Ganef. Amalei. So Rava explained, he's a captive in his own home because the Ganovim are now holding him hostage until he gives over some money. And so therefore he was allowed to use the money that, even though it was designated for others, Pidyon Shvuyim, now he becomes the Shavui, and therefore he can actually give over that money to the Ganovim. Says the Gemara, another story. Ahu Gavra, there was this person. They got onto a boat, the Kamma Lamavre, Kame, the Slike Nosh B'Mavre. Very interesting. There was a ferry, and one one guy brought a donkey onto the ferry, and before people got onto the ferry, and now the ferry became so heavy, it wanted to sink. So also Hahu Gavra, so one of the passengers came, Malach lechamre Dahu Gavra v'shad lenahar utva. He threw overboard the donkey that somebody else brought onto the ferry and drowned it. Also the Kamma de Rabba. So they came to Rabba, Patare, Rabba said, the guy that dumped somebody else's donkey overboard, he patted himself. Amal Abaya says, he's saving himself. He's saving himself by destroying somebody else's money, and therefore, why is he not obligated to pay? Amalei. So Rabbi explained, because that person that brought the donkey on basically is trying to kill everybody on the boat, because he made it so heavy that the ferry is going to sink. And once somebody is trying to kill you, then you're not obligated if you destroy any of his property. Rabba said, a roidif, somebody's trying to kill somebody and damage property, he doesn't have to pay. Why doesn't he have to pay? Very simple. Because when you're somebody who's a roidif trying to kill somebody, you're actually a dead man yourself, because people have a right to kill you first. And because of that, therefore, if you damage somebody else's property, you're not obligated to pay, because we have this rule, kam le b'derabban le. We only give you one punishment, which is the death penalty, and you're exempt from all monetary responsibility. If you're being chased, that means if you're being chased, therefore you're allowed to kill the person that's chasing you to kill you, and also destroy his car or whatever it is. And so same thing here, the rest of the boat are being killed by this donkey who was brought onto the boat, so they're allowed to throw the donkey overboard. But you're only allowed to, the Nirduf was only allowed to destroy the property of the Roidif, but nobody else. Then the Braisa says that Rabbah said, if a roidif was chasing after roidif, somebody's trying to kill somebody, and somebody chases that person who's trying to kill somebody, v'shava kelim ben shel nida ben shel kol adam, and he destroyed kelim belonging to the victim or anybody, potter, you not have to pay. V'loy min adin, he doesn't not min adin, el shemata oimekein in chol adam shmatzas chavei min roidif. Nobody's going to try to save somebody who's in danger of being killed, because if the one that the Good Samaritan wants to save somebody and you obligate him to pay for all damages, he's going to say, I'm not getting involved, right? Because really, when he tries to save somebody, he's saving somebody else with money belonging to somebody else. So really, he should have to pay. But we want to have Good Samaritans, people who step up and try to protect people from killing other people, and therefore we don't obligate somebody who's a Good Samaritan to if he does something wrong, we don't obligate him to pay. So now we go to the Mishnah. Mishnah again on Daf Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. The Mishnah says Shetafoy Nohar. In other words, a guy steals a property. Now, if you steal, okay, let's say you steal a movable item. Let's say you steal somebody's guitar. So whatever happens to that guitar, you have to pay. But there's a thing about karka. There's a thing about stealing property. If you steal somebody else's land, right? You put up a fence around somebody else's land. It's not really stolen. It's not considered to be stolen, because karka ain't an exelis. Karka can never be stolen. So therefore, what's the result of that? Shetafei nar, if a river floods that karka, so then it's not the fault of the Gazan. The Gazan doesn't have to pay for a new piece of land. He could tell the nigzal, keep your karka back. It's your, I never really stole anything. So not everybody holds, the Gemara is bringing a brisa, that not everybody holds you can steal, that karka is not stealable, I could say. Only the Chachamim hold. So the Achad Reb Lezer disagrees with our Mishnah, and he says that if a field flooded, a field that was stolen, the Gazlan has to pay for a new field. These are the words of Reb Lezer. Exactly what our Mishnah said. You say to the Nigzal, here's your field back. What's the machlekes all about? So it's psukim, that the way you darshan psukim will determine if karka is nigzelas or not. The Rab Lezer darshan riba miyat, the chitzash ba miso riboy, because the miyat kol sheshav alav l'shaka chaz of riboy. So you have a riboy miyat riboy, so it's more inclusive. So that's talking about gazlan and returning. Riboy miyat riba kol, everything is included. You can steal anything. My ribi kol mili. Anything can be stolen. Well, my miyat, what is the only thing that we're going to exclude is miyat shtaris. You can't steal a deed document, because that could always be, rewritten, especially if there's edim. So, and it's not worth anything. It's just a piece of paper. So that's not considered to be you stole something from somebody. Rabbanan darshe klal prat klal, kishish klal pekadem prat, oimi kol chazer klal prat klal yatodon kere prat. So what is things that could be stolen? Ma prat dava matalta, only things that are movable. V'gufay mamin, it's worth money as it itself, like a guitar. I've called dava matalta v'gufay mamin. Only things that's movable and it's worth money by itself. Yotzu kakoy is shein matalta. It excludes karka. Karka can never be stolen because it's not movable. And yotzu avodim shukshla kakar, slaves are like karka. Yotzu shtar shav bishim talta ein gufay mamin. And shtar, a deed instrument, a dead instrument, cannot be stolen because it itself is not of value. Says the Gemara, but the time we learned in the Brisa, hagoizel es hapara, if you steal a cow should be a movable item, ushtafai nar, and the river flooded it. Chayv lahamalei para, the Reb Lezer. Reb Lezer says to say you have to you stole a cow. Reb Lezer says you have to pay for a new cow. Rachamim say you can tell the guy, here's your drowned cow. So why? What's the shot in the Chachamim? What are they arguing about? Amar Papa explained. Here we're talking about. We go to the top of the page. Here you didn't steal the cow. What you did was steal a karka, and on the karka there was a crouching cow. Cow on the piece of land. So therefore, since Rab Lezer holds karka could be stolen, so therefore, if you steal the karka, the Gazlan now owns the karka, so he automatically owns the cow that's on the karka, and therefore he's obligated to pay for the cow. Rabbanan Tamei, the Rabbanan hold according to their reasonings, the karka is not stolen, and therefore the cow doesn't belong to the Gazlan. So therefore, the Gazlan can say, I didn't steal your karka, and I could say hareish l'chol l'fanecha, take it back, and therefore I'm not going to pay for the cow. I could say hareish l'chol l'fanecha. Says the Mishnah. Mishnah daf kuf yitches rav. Hagoizel es chaveiroi shehil b'mena shifkid loy b'yishuv loyachsel loy b'minva. Our Mishnah is talking about, okay, you stole or you borrowed money from somebody. Return it. You have to return it, or could you say to the guy, "Come meet me in the Himalayas. I'm going to return your item that I stole from you." So if you steal from your friend or you borrowed from your friend, b'yishuv, in a place where people live, right, where society lives, lo yachsel b'midbar. You can't say, "I'm going to tell the guy, come to the desert and I'll return your item," because the guy doesn't, the lender doesn't want to come, or the nigzal doesn't want to come to the desert to pick up his item and risk it being stolen on his way home. But almanas, let's say b'midbar, yaxolei b'midbar. If you made a condition that you could return it in the desert, then yaxolei b'midbar, you could return it in the desert. So the Gemara is going to explain what the novelty of that is. If you make a condition and the guy agrees to the condition, why can't you return it? First, the Gemara says, Urimina, I'm going to ask you a contradiction to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says, Milva, if you have a loan, mishtalemes b'chol makom, that you could pay it back anywhere. You don't have to go to the guy's house to pay the loan. You could call the guy on the phone, tell him you're on a somewhere out in the boondocks in the desert, and let him come pick up his loan. And our Mishnah said that a loan, you can't return it in the midbar. You have to return it not in the place that you borrowed it from, but in a normal place. Meet me in a hotel lobby or whatever, and I'll return you your money. And here, the Brisa says you can return the loan. The lender can return the loan any which place he decides he wants to return the loan. Amar Abai, no. Abai explained, the Brisa means something else. Milva nitli tav b'chol makom. Milva, the lender can demand payment in any place. If the lender meets up the borrower on vacation in some remote place and he sees that the borrower has money, he can demand payment there. And that's what it means, because payment for an item, a loan, means that the guy is paying back monies, that not the same money that he borrowed, but other monies. So therefore, you could demand payment from the lender, from the borrower, anywhere, wherever he is. But a deposit item, you could only demand to retrieve it, and something lost item, only in the place where he found it. You can't demand that the guy who found your item or who's watching your item to come where you are to pay, to give it to you. That's the difference. But we misread the Brisa, so it's not a contradiction. Almanas, lots just been bidbar. But if the lender said, "Okay, you could pay me back, my money in the midbar," the Mishnah says it's okay. Then the borrower can do that. So the Gemara says, Pshita, if the lender is okay with it, what's the novelty of that? Let's say by the case of the deposit, the guy who's depositing an item to a shomer says, I'm depositing this item by you to watch, because I'm going to the desert. And the shomer says, I also want to go visit one day the desert. If you want, I can return it to you there in the desert. So it wasn't an expressive condition that they made up with each other. They were just schmoozing around that they both planned to go to the desert. So even though they didn't expressly work out a condition, it's a non-verbal, binding condition, because it's understood that both of them are going to be in the desert. And why not? The shomer at that point can say, "Hossam over there, Madran Elach, I could return it to you." And the Mishnah says that would be okay. No Mishnah. A man says to his friend, "I stole you. Guy goes over to his friend and he said, "I lent you money." Okay, let's say I lent you money. I stole something from you. And so he admits that he's wrong, or he owes the guy money. But then he says, I'm not sure if I paid you back or not. You're obligated to pay. But I'm not sure if I stole from you, or if I borrowed from you, or I deposited you. Potter milishalim, you don't have to pay. Because here the guy says, I'm not even sure I have any obligation of a monetary obligation to you. So therefore, you don't have to pay. So the Gemara is going to discuss this. Itma, we learned. A guy goes over to, Reuven goes over to Shimon, okay? One guy says, you owe me a mana. And the guy says, I'm not sure, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Rav Huna v'Rabbi Yehuda mechayev, Rav Nachman omrei pata. Rav Huna says the guy who says any Yedeya is obligated to pay. And Rav Yochanan says, and Rav Nachman says, the name of Rav Yochanan, you're not obligated to pay. So the Gemara explains, Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, Amrei Chayev, Bari V'Shem, Bari Adam. The guy that's the claimant is very clear that you owe him money, and you're not sure. So therefore, the claimant who is clear has to pay. So he wins the case. So therefore, the guy who the person who is claimed against, he would have to pay, because Bari, the one with the clear, who's very sure, he wins the case. Rav Nachman, Rav Yochanan, Rav Potter. Why? Because since the person who has the money in his pocket is not sure if he's obligated to pay, well, we have a chazaka, a presumed ownership of that money belonging to that person who's not sure, and therefore he's not obligated to pay. Rashi says, though, he has to swear that he doesn't owe you any money. So, or he swears that he doesn't know if he owes money. Tonight we learned in the Mishnah, our Mishnah says that in the end of the Mishnah, and he said, a guy says to somebody, I'm not sure if I loaned you money. And the other guy, and I'm not sure if I loaned you money. Potter, right? And I'm not sure if you loaned me money. All right, he says, I don't know if I loaned you money. So then you're potter from paying. So now what's that end of the Mishnah discussing over here? So the Gemara says, is the guy, the lender, the borrower says, I don't know if I borrowed money from you. So a guy says, I don't know if I borrowed from you. What is the lender saying? If the lender's not claiming anything, so then the ratio also is where the lender is not claiming against the guy. So why is the borrower obligated to pay if the lender has no claim against the borrower, and the borrower is saying, I might have paid you already? Ella, the kavdavale, it must be that the lender is claiming that I lent you money, and the borrower is saying, I agree that you lent me money, but maybe I paid you back. So therefore, you're obligated to pay. Uktani safe, and the end of the brisa says, Potam al-Shalan. So it must be talking about the claimant, there's a claim against him, and he's saying, I'm not even sure if I borrowed in the first place. I totally disagree. So you're not obligated to pay. So what do we see from there? We don't say bari v'shema, bari adif. Because we certainly the lender is 100% certain, and the borrower is not sure, and you still say you're potter from paying. So it seems Rabbi Yochanan is correct and Rav Huna is wrong. Answers the Gemara, loy. Our Mishnah is talking about loylam de kolik tavlei. There is no bari over here. There's the lender is not 100% claiming against anything. Reisha not bavov. Let's just say shemayim. The reisha that says you're obligated to pay is because if you wanna yaitza l'dei shemayim. The Gemara says like this: a man goes over to his friend. Listen to this. He says, "Manali biyadcha, you owe me money." And the other one says, "I don't know." Chayev, then you're obligated to pay. If you want to have your books cleared in heaven. So if you read the Mishnah, that's what the Mishnah is saying. There's no claimant over here. A guy says, I borrowed money from you, but I'm not sure if I paid you back. He should pay it back. If you're not sure if you paid somebody back, but you know for sure you borrowed it from him, so then min hashamayim, you should pay him back, even if the other guy is not claiming against you. And that's how he's going to learn the Mishnah. Mishnah says, so we're going to learn like one way to learn this Mishnah. A guy steals a sheep from a flock, and he returned it. Even if the animal died, right? He didn't tell the guy, the one he stole it, that he returned it. So if the animal dies, then or got stolen, the ganav is still responsible because he didn't tell the guy, oh, I stole it from you and now I'm returning it. But when do we say that is lo yodo bailim? If the bailim did not know that it was stolen, so therefore you didn't notify him that you're returning it. He didn't know when it was stolen or when it was returned. But if he knew it was stolen and you didn't tell him when you returned it that I returned it, but it was counting the sheep, okay, and it found out that he has the same amount. So on his own, he figured out that you returned it. Then that's a good hashava. That's called returning the gzela. But you're not obligated to pay. So what the Mishnah, and we're going to learn this too, because this is Rav Chizda's way of learning the Mishnah. There's a few other ways, but the most important part to remember is that if he knows it was stolen, if he knows, oh, it was stolen, and then he counted and found out that it was returned, that's good enough. But if he never knew it was stolen, right? So then it doesn't matter if he counted it, doesn't count it, and if he never knew it was stolen, then the ganav has to tell him, I am returning it. It's not enough to him to put it back and pretend nothing happened. but you have to tell him that I'm returning it. And the Gemara is going to explain what the svara of that is. Rav says like this: Ladas, if you steal something and the guy knows about it, tzarich das, you have to tell him that you're returning it. Shloi das, if he never knew about it, minyan paita. As long as the nignav counted it and he doesn't know anything was stolen, the ganav is not obligated to pay. That part is going on the end of the Mishnah when he did not know it was stolen. Shmuel says, Bein ledas, bein shloi das, whether the nignav knows it was stolen or not knows it was stolen, minyan paita, as long as he counts it up and everything seems good, paita, then the ganav is not obligated for einsim. It's going on everything. Rabbi Yochanan says, ledas, minyan paita, if he knows it was stolen, and then he counts it and everything looks fine, potters, then the ganav is not obligated. Shloi ledas, if he never knew it was stolen, then he doesn't even have to count it, because if someone doesn't know anything was stolen and then you return it, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't even have to count it. Everything is fine as long as the ganav returned it and it was quiet. We'll keep it out of the papers. It's talking about if he knew it was stolen. Rav Chizda, and this is the what I think what we paskin like. Ladas, this is what you have to remember. If someone knows, the nignav knows something was stolen, minyan paiter. If somehow he recounts his items, he knows it was stolen, now he recounts it and finds it there, then the ganav is not held liable anymore because it was returned. Shloi ladas, but if he never knew it was stolen, then tzarich das, you have to tell him that I stole something from you and I returned it from you. And that's by sheep. And the reason is because when you steal a sheep, and the Gemara is going to explain this in a second, when you steal a sheep, even though you returned it, so the guy thinks nothing happened, the sheep changed. Now the sheep knows how to go out on its own. So the owner is not going to watch it as carefully, because now it's a new type of sheep that can wander off on its own. So therefore, when you steal something and the owner knows about it, you have to tell him, I'm returning it. It's talking about when he does know about it. Amar Rava said, my tama, we go to Amar Beis. Ma tama, what's the reason? My tama, Rav Chizda, what's the reason? Rav Chizda, that since the animal since the animal now knows how to walk outside and wander away, the owner has to know that it was that this animal was stolen, and somebody actually trained it now to wander off on its own, so he'll watch it better. So when you steal it, you have to tell him, I stole it and I returned it now. Says the Gemara, we'll stop in a minute and a half. Umi Amar Rava Hachi, did Rava say such a thing? Amar Rava said, a guy sees somebody lifting a sheep from his flock, and the guy said, hey, and the guy dropped the sheep, and he doesn't know if the sheep got returned. He doesn't know if the sheep ended up back into the flock. And then he counts, and the sheep was dead or stolen. The ganav is chayev into all responsibility. My lav afagal the money, even though the nigdav recounted it and see it was returned. So we see from there that it was ladas. He knows it was stolen because he's screaming at the guy, "Don't steal my sheep," and yet he counted it up and he knows it was returned, and yet the ganav will still be obligated to pay, still held liable. So why is that? You said ladas, all counting should be enough. And since it's talking about the loy money, he didn't count his sheep, so therefore he doesn't know if it was returned. He knows it was stolen, but he's not 100% sure it was returned. One more piece. Mi Amar Rav Hachi, did Rav say such a thing? What did Rav say? Rav said that das, you have to tell, if you steal something and he knows about it, you have to let him know that you're returning it. If you return something into the flock in the desert, even though he probably doesn't know about it. He does know about it. If it's a type of animal that you can tell it was returned, if it's a colorful animal, Rav would agree that's good enough. One more point. Let's say Rav and Shmuel is like a mechlekes tanoim. Rabbi Shmuel says you don't have to, if you steal something, a sheep from the flock, just return it. Rabbi Kiva says you have to notify the owner that you're returning it. Everybody holds what Rabbi Yitzchak said, that when someone steals a dollar from your wallet, you know about it because everybody touches their wallet all the time. So my love, the seller the das. It's talking about the guy knows that something was stolen from him. Uplukta the Rav and Shmuel, and that's what Rav and Shmuel have. Shmuel says you don't have to tell him that you're returning it because he holds like Shmuel. And Rabbi Kiva holds like Rav, that once he knows that it was stolen, you have to let him know that you're returning it. So that's the Gemara. It was talking about he doesn't know it was stolen. And the sheep, he doesn't know it was stolen. Uplukta Rabbi Chizda, Rabbi Yochanan, and that's the machlekes Rabbi Chizda and Rabbi Yochanan. That Rabbi Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yochanan, that you could return it without letting the guy know. But Rabbi Kiva says, since he doesn't know it was stolen, he doesn't know that this animal is now retrained to now wander off his own. So Rabbi Kiva held like Rabbi Chizda that you need to notify the owner that it was stolen. Again, since you don't know that they're arguing in Rav and Shmuel or Rabbi Chizda and Rabbi Yochanan, so you can't prove anything that it's a machlekes tanoim is the same machlekes as the Amoraim. Okay, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow we'll just go a little bit 5 minutes over, but we should be able to make the siyum tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you for everything.